Y'all say, people.
Ready, Mayor? It's 5 o'clock. Call the drainage committee meeting to order. Everybody, all members are present except Mr. Jamie Palmville. First item discusses drainage issues at 4157 Highway 308 Ward 2.
Yeah, that's a issue where we have outfall on that property, and there's some subsidence, subsidence on top of those culverts. And we're going with some with the excavator, make a exploratory, just explore and see what the issues are. And because I can't do a cost estimate right now, so I'm on a $250 for a machine to go in and see what the problem is, and then we'll come back to the jury at next meeting with a better cost estimate.
Motion by Mr. Mathern. Second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, request approval for cover replacement at 148 Oak Lane, Ward 6, Oakville Lane, Ward 6.
Yeah, that's the that orange flag is marking a hole in the culverts, and they're also on the sides. I think the 12-inch, we'll go with 18-inch culverts to improve the drainage on that street.
Motion by Mr. Blanchard. Second by Mr. Mathern. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, request approval to sweep out outfall behind Lacey Street, Ward 6.
And you can see that bottom picture where the sewer drain comes in the ditch. Past that point, goes to the sugarcane fields, is plugged with debris and trees and stuff. We swept it about 5 years ago. It's a normal routine sweep, just to get the people's sewer plants to drain properly.
Motion by Mr. Mathern. Second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, request approval to clean outfall on Tiger Lane, Ward 7.
That's the outfall that runs along the train tracks and also takes a turn coming to the east. A good little stretch that's full of trees that need to go in with the mulch and trim all the trees and clean up the right of way.
Motion by Mr. Mathern. Second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Ayes have it. Last item, discuss ongoing drainage projects.
Yes, in the last couple of weeks, we've actually completed with the Mobile, we've completed a project on Oak Lane and Pierpont. We built the bottoms on 4 catch basins, so we're moving along with the catch basins. That's starting to progress more. So I think we 2 of them in Ward 9. We started on 1 in Ward 7, and we're also going to do 1 in Ward 8. So we're moving along with the catch basins. That's all the rest of the report.
Any other item? Motion to adjourn by Mr. Blanchard. Second by Mr. Mathern. Any committee meeting adjourned.
Jim, I just want to introduce y'all to Miss Haven. This is going to be Miss
5:10 Finance Committee meeting started. Let the record reflect all members are present. Item 1, request approval to pay list of bills submitted through October 19th, 23. Motion by Mr. Nakane,
Second.
second by Mr. Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, review budget comparison statements for major funds for September 23. Those are provided for you in your packet.
No plan of action at this time, just recommend approval.
Motion by Mr. Carter.
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Proposed change in payroll coding to increase the 1% funding allocation.
Yes, I'm proposing this to you all for changes to the 2024 budget. This would be inclusive for myself, the accountants in my office, and the 2 accountants on the federal program side as well as the grants coordinator and the accountant clerk and receptionist in my office. These individuals participate in utilization of all the funds that we currently have. So in an effort to try to to save funds on the general fund side, I'd like to reallocate the payroll coding to increase the allocation to be funded through 1%. So that would be for the accountants, 70% coming from 1%, 30% from general fund versus 60-40 right now. And for the administrative assistant and accounting clerk and grants coordinator, 50-50, and then for the grants coordinator, general fund 30%, 1%, 35%, and 35% for drainage. Again, this is just to spread out the salaries to help the general fund.
Motion approved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Alcorn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss allocation of American Recovery Act funds. I have put this on the agenda, and I'll table it till next meeting because we don't have the estimates from Infinity yet that we can work with to see where we're at. I think we'll hear about that whenever we get to the from the grants coordinator as to why the ones that we sent have to be redone. So I'll table that item for now.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Nakane.
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
All members are present except Mr. Ponville. Item number one, request authorization to terminate employment of Ricky Holmes effective 10/26/2023.
Yes, this recommendation is being made because the active case that was pending has now been resolved and closed.
Motion to terminate.
Motion by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Alcorn,
Second.
second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Meeting adjourned.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started with the engineering grant committee meeting. All members are present except for Ms. Conville. First item is update on project status and funding sources by GIS engineering.
Good afternoon, Jers. Jacob Muskie, GIS Engineering. So the current status is we're working with Megan on some of the capital outlay requests and making sure things are, I guess not things, but make sure everything's put in properly, or looking at last year's request. And I'm sure you guys seen some email traffic back and forth. So just working with Megan on things that I can with that, on the grants. There's still a few out there. Brick's a big one that's coming up. It's due, I want to say in November, could be wrong, I apologize. But that one's still, that's sometime out there. But that's about it for now. So that's, attended a modeling. So DOTD hired LWI contractor to do modeling for the whole region. That goes from Point Capee, the whole upper Terrebonne and lower Terrebonne basin. So they modeled an extensive model throughout Point Capee, West Baton Rouge, Iberville, Assumption, East Baton Rouge Parish, across to Ascension Parish. And that's where the model stopped. But Mr. Blanchard and I went to Iberville and viewed the model, and they were asking if this is right, the truth in the model. So we participated in that, and they are making comments and notes and going to redo the model and update it, I guess, to make it more accurate and look at different gauges. So participated in that. I think that might be it for now. Any questions though? Outstanding issues.
Thank you, Jacob.
All right, thank you.
All right, next is update from grant coordinator.
Good afternoon. Just want to say a few things first, and then I have some more details. So for Plottonville drainage, the abstract and title opinion contracts have been signed and they have been given the notice to proceed. So they're currently working on that. Infinity's contract with the water sector program. At the last meeting, I was sent back to request an itemized scope. Well, first I had to find out if Louisville would require a scope change to go before the Water Sector Commission Board, or if, since it was mentioned in the grant but left off of the cost estimate, if it was okay to still be included in the base scope. So I did receive confirmation that it can be included in the base scope. It's not a scope change. So I did ask Infinity to give us an itemized cost estimate with that included in the base scope. And then when they gave us the itemized cost estimates back, Brian Blankenship was reviewing them and noticed that there was a construction contingency of 20%, and the maximum is only 10% allowed. So we requested that they update their cost estimates to reflect the 10% maximum that's allowed. We haven't received those back yet. And then we're still waiting for the cost estimate for the land, which I did speak with Mr. Tommy's office today, and he's meeting with the board tomorrow. So he's gonna discuss it with the owners tomorrow. For capital outlay, I've been working on the applications that we approved to be resubmitted and the new ones to be submitted. But today we were notified that we would have to commit to providing 3% of the total cost for each project towards maintenance for those projects. And so
You were told that by whom?
actually GIS related to us, it was stated in an act.
Yes.
In an act.
You want to share that with us or?
Sure. So it may be accepted, it may not. Right now, the act is passed. It may or may not be inputted into the fiscal year 24-25 applications, which is now. But should it be, it's a 3% requirement by all applications for a minimum, no less than 3% that has to be applied. So I'm unclear if that means 22 match and 3 maintenance, or is
What
that
act is
28,
that, sir?
25 and 3?
What act is that?
I would say right. And you do have it in your email. I did email it. So.
I did talk to Senator Price regarding that. He did hear about it, but he's definitely gonna let me know if this is concrete or not.
So it may or may not be accepted for this round. It may be applied next year, but if it's not, I would imagine they would come back to all applicants and say, or evaluate the match piece of it to say, is 3%, do you have 3% or not? So it's unclear right now. I can find that out and get back to you though.
I appreciate it. Also, too, I mean,
What the request is that we put a statement in each application committing to the 3%.
Saying that
So
it should
if
it
we
be
put that
accepted,
statement, we
right?
have
Should it be
to.
accepted? Should this 3% or this act be applied for this funding round, then 3%, that statement clause covers that you have and you will. So you know about it, right? If you don't put it in, I don't know if they're gonna come to you asking for it to every single applicant, or if they're just gonna say not enough people put it in, so maybe we won't accept it this time, or they will pursue it and say, I don't know what avenue they're going.
Well,
That's unclear.
why would we put it in if it's not concrete yet?
We were advised by our lobbyists and our staffer to relay this to our clients and our parishes that we work with.
It's just a one-time 3% of the project cost.
I think this is gonna be, the new act is gonna be applied for all applications that go in. So this is just, I'll review that bill. So I don't know that answer right off the top. But I'm gonna go sit and read and see if I can.
and I'll get some more information on it too.
But it's not 100% gonna be accepted on this year. We don't know yet.
Well, with that being said, Megan went on and put the 3% of two projects that are already 100% funding that was already allocated, which is the Assumption pumps and drainage and also Platinville drainage improvements. We're not giving that money back. I mean, we got to move forward with those projects because they have allocated the funds for us to go ahead and do those projects. So I don't know, I don't think that 3% is should apply to those two projects that were funded this year or last year, well, this year. And they're getting ready, it should be, once she gets the land title, the title opinion back, we should be ready to go for 30-day bid, am I correct? Once Mr. Calabro review everything,
Yeah.
we ready to go.
We have information has to go to Mr.
Well, we'll go to the
Cloud.
Parish.
Ain't gonna cause a pass of
Do you have
quorum.
to resubmit these two in the cycle?
Yes.
Just because the projects are not closed, right? Just because we haven't closed them.
No, we still need to be prepared. But there's another factor aside from the 3% that needs to be discussed, that more funding we have to come up with.
So on a few of the grants, 4 of them, we need additional matching funds. For 2 of them, Belrose Lane Drainage and Bayou Crab, the match was originally calculated just on the state funds, not the total cost of the entire project. So the additional match needed for Belrose Lane Drainage is $48,488. And the additional for Bayou Crab is $158,125. And then the 2 new ones that we were putting in for Grant Park and Murray Park. The match that was decided upon, Grant Park had a little bit over allocated, so they wouldn't owe any additional on the match. It would just come into effect if that 3% required maintenance. That's where additional would be needed. For Murray Park, the restroom and improvements estimate was, the 25% was a little bit, like the match allocated was a little bit below the 25%, which it needs to be. It was $5,000 short. So we have to have additional, 5,000 additional matching funds from Murray Park.
Mr. Irvin and I are still good. I'm gonna be all right with the 5,000.
Any recreation?
No.
Any
No
recreation?
funding, no. Continue on. Talk about all the deducts.
Yeah.
Also, Capital Outlay does a deduct for their FP&C admin. So like for Assumption pumps and drainage, they're taking out 22,500. For Plottenville drainage is 91,125. Shell Beach is 22,500. The 911 call center is 23,625. Belrose Lane Street drainage, 32,729. Bayou Crab is 106,734. Grant Park, 14,985. And then Mare Park, 5,738. And so I do have a shortfall column, which that total consists of the additional match required, over amount previously approved, the FD&C admin deducted from state funds, and the required 3% maintenance.
So in short, in summary, the shortfall column is what has to be appropriated for each of these projects prior to submission. Unless you all do not want to submit the applications with the clause relative to the 3% maintenance. If you all don't want to submit the applications with that, we have no idea what the bearing is going to be, but that would reduce those shortfalls by the required 3% maintenance column.
So on the admin fees, those fees, I think we should add to our total project budget. And they ask for capital outlay should include that additional fee.
But it doesn't.
No,
They deduct it from the total project budget.
I understand, but I think we need to adjust our total budget to have that fee included, because for the 911 call center, 700,000 is the total of the project. We can't lose the 23,625.
And then that's what I'm saying. They're not asking you to lose it, but we got to increase our match. They're not increasing their construction side. They want the locals to increase their match.
So in other words, my match was 160, they want $20,000 more.
That's correct.
So
I was, again, I'm gonna say for the first two that has already been fully funded by capital outlay and other resources, you should just resubmit those without the 3%. We have the funding
But
for it.
that's not, we're not talking about the 3%. That's one item. But what about the admin, facility planning admin that they've deducted?
81,000.
Yeah, I mean, I got 2 points, yeah. We gotta get it out of there. We'll get it out of the,
We need,
capital,
we
okay.
need appropriations here. to
You can go ahead and appropriate the 81,000. Joseph, you agree? Appropriate the 81,000 out of the funding of the capital outlay.
We had included administrative costs when we submitted those estimates, so I don't know. There was, now I don't know if we put 80, I don't recall if we put 81,000 in that, but we did have administrative cost included into the line items that we had submitted on capital outlay for Plottville drainage.
do we know if the 3% maintenance, is that just an amount that we have to have budgeted every year for maintenance, or is that have to be allocated?
It's an amount that we have to commit to for this project. What's happening is they funding all these capital outlay projects
Sure.
and nobody's maintaining them after. So they feel that their money is wasted. So they want a commitment to the parish that the projects will continue and be an ongoing. Same issue we had when we revoked our application for the sewer treatment plant across the bayou. Because when they wanted our budgets, they wanted to see specifically where we allocated for the maintenance of that facility, and we couldn't prove that.
So Megan, on the 911 call center, I know you submitted that project already. Is it too late to amend that submission?
I'm gonna get in touch with somebody tomorrow, and the text, whenever I submit it, says that you can't retract it to do any more editing. But I found out about this 3% maintenance after that, so I can see if I can request for them to send it back to me so I can do any editing needed.
It's a pretty good shocker today, yes. How long have we I don't know if we know this.
Just found out
Today.
today. Just-
Right. Well, I mean, we talk about taking action. None of us have read the act. And those that are presenting haven't totally read it and familiar with it. So as Roy's thinking, I don't think we should be stopping that. The 911 call service.
I'm about to send this email out.
Look into more.
We can't. The applications are due October 31st. So just to help you all, first of all, you have to approve additional match for the FP and C admin column. Okay, if we choose to not commit to the maintenance, then we can submit without that tagline. As Jacob said, we don't know if they're gonna throw out the applications and say they're not gonna be considered or not. They may not. They may say this is gonna be, this requirement is for the next fiscal year. We don't know. But that's a choice you all have to make for her to submit. If you choose to tell her to put it in to submit, then we need to allocate the funding source for it.
Yeah, but shouldn't some of our legislative delegation or folk know where we stand with this? If we do our homework
I
and
don't,
perhaps have, give ourselves a special meeting? Or a special meeting, move
I
on.
don't think the legislative delegation has any control over this. This is the rulings for capital outlay. And this is how facility planning and this is how they're structured. It's just the assumption is that, sometimes or often, okay, you got $500,000 for a project. Yeah, you got 500,000, but there's a lot of things that get deducted from there. So your net construction costs are not 500,000. And that's where facility planning pays their staff out of these grants.
Okay, so
So you just have to really caution yourself when you get X amount of dollars and the legislature tells you you have that, that's not what you have for construction.
Right, and that's why I believe that we need to increase our total project budgets for the ones that we have not submitted yet to include that admin fee in that budget. It has to be included in the ask.
But if you increase, it's going to come back to the same thing, because you're going to increase your total project budget, which is therefore going to increase your 25% match.
Yeah, but you're not funding it 100% locally. You're not deducting 100%. You're only deducting 25%.
and she's gonna be asking to receive it again and see if she can resubmit. So the
I
question there
want to
is,
do just a one-time
and
thing.
that's not a project, just buy a bit to cover this, and we all have it. And that's another little bit we have. That is our other only alternative if we're sticking to this without the benefit of getting true definitive information pertaining to this act.
Again, the act is only one aspect. There's two aspects we got to deal with tonight.
I think on the 3%, I think we submitted without putting that in there. And then they come back and say we need. it. Right now, we're not sure we.
Yeah,
I agree with that part.
And hopefully
the
we'll
way it
have some-
sounds, they're not sure.
Did you submit all your support letters already?
Besides the Murray part. Besides Murray.
So we still need to come up with additional match funds.
You can come up with the admin, correct?
Admin part.
Admin part.
Buy your crab, I could just take that out of my road fund allocation.
You don't have an
Yeah.
allocation.
Yeah, we're gonna take for next year.
Well, the good news is you're here for the next 4 years. so
Yeah,
can't
we
make
take it
that.
out of there.
That take care of a big lump right there. If we go with that.
For Grant Park, can I get a 2-year advance and just take that 14,000 out of that?
The only problem with Grant Park and Maury Park is that the allocations that y'all currently have don't even fully fund the utilities. So if they're used for a match, then nothing will fund the utilities or vice versa.
$15,000.
And I know what y'all gonna say, and that's not my intent at all, but anytime we do recreation improvements, when we have maintenance or increased maintenance on that, that's all a general fund expenditure. So just keep that in mind moving forward. The more we expand our recreation facilities, the more maintenance we have, therefore the more cost and no money coming in. So
When we did the vote on the fire list, I don't know if you remember that, we had to guarantee maintenance, who was gonna take care of.
Mhm.
That's how the recreation district came in.
Yeah, the move is moving to that, the trend is moving to that greater and greater because of projects funded and then they're falling off the wayside because there's no maintenance. So that's the trend.
I guess I got issue with the fact that, you know, all I've got at my race park is grass being cut, so I don't see these maintenance costs that you're referring to.
Electricity. Yeah, lights.
It's not excessive.
They don't know.
It doesn't have to be
they don't
excessive
know
to
that
get
all you
10,000.
have is grass cut. They just put that 3% maintenance.
That's a killer.
That's it.
It's a killer. That's what it is.
No,
Moving forward.
Patrick, the reason why yours is over is because your previous improvement, no, that was wrong, is the 37.5. I mean, you're taking 37.5 out as your match. So that basically wiped your funds out. That's where your situation. Chris's situation is similar. You approved the last match 112.5. So that wiped out what balance you had, but now it's requiring more.
With
The 14, the 50,000.
Correct.
and
And both recreation allocations as of 10/12 are maxed out. There's no more off of the annual funding.
For.
Correct. Well, one as well. Don't let Ron sneak away. He's
Well, I think-
expended it.
I think what we have, as I stated before, we can lessen the scope of the project. We can lessen the project and still move forward with some positive change and get your project, get our projects done. So we need to, she's presently stating she's gonna see if she can, it will allow her to resubmit. Given that, all of us are here and it just came forward yesterday. This particular act that we don't have the numbers or name of or so forth. I think most definitely we can look at our scope, our projects that is.
We submit without the 3%. Yep. None of them might even get picked up at all. And the rest of them, even without the 3%, there's still a wish list.
My
We
point
don't know
still,
where they're gonna
That's a
grab.
wish list.
my point still stands with all of them, but with the exception of what Alcorn has, that we look at our total project and still everybody benefit with each and every project.
All right.
I agree with what Chris said.
That part, but it's still-
Can we get a motion on that, to that effect?
Motion to what?
To Chris.
I'm not on engineer.
Just take me out the 3% to say something.
I'm not on engineer.
Motion
Motion to submit all
We have some updated information.
Yeah, so updated information is that the facility planning had no guidelines on it yet. So the 2024 legislative session, they don't have any guidelines for all applications. It won't go into effect. And so he says 3% of the life of the project. So it's not a 3% match. So you have to prove, or it says the ability to provide maintenance up to no less than 3% for the life of the project. So you build something and it's 50, it's a bridge, 50-year design, then you have that management or that maintenance operation is over the life of 50 years. So that 3% is not added on to your matching, so to speak. You have the life of the project to just make sure you maintain it. So that basically gives a statement saying the parish is going to maintain their improvements, I guess. So that's the intent. So it's not a 3% monetary match on top.
Yeah, 'cause
I
the question I
understand
had,
that.
because of buying crab, you got $95,000 for 3%. I mean, you don't spend that in 1 year.
Correct. So it's over the life of the project.
Makes sense.
So, sorry, but that's,
No,
that's the guidance I just received. So
The
the-
curveball thrown at?
the guidance is that also to just to submit it in after the 2024 legislative session, you would still have the ability to pull it if you didn't want the project to move forward.
To apply for the grant without 3%.
Motion to continue to apply.
Without 3% maintenance.
But his motion is still relevant. We just submit without it
Yeah.
for that.
Continue to
And then
submit.
we'll worry about the FPNC.
The motion is made by Chris.
Not by me, not on the
No, I'll make
committee.
the motion.
Okay,
I got the motion.
motion by Ron that the grant be applied for without the 3% match.
But it's a long. it's not-
Maintenance.
But they're gonna get some guidance
They
on
don't
it
have no
hopefully in
guidance
the
on it.
next year, and then
I
they're gonna come back
second,
with.
yeah.
guidance.
Second, Leroy.
You don't want to throw it out.
All right, motion is by Ron,
Yeah,
second by
report.
Patrick, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed.
So that takes care of the 3%. We're not gonna submit with that line.
Really not doing it though. Not presented 3%. You know, in the next 10 years, you go spend $20,000.
That's fine, but you got time to prepare for it too. You got time to prepare for it.
The question is,
No,
Yeah, you got time to prepare to get the money.
but if they might, if they say, look,
I gotta finish talking.
if you're not gonna do your 3%, we're not gonna put you back in.
But you still got
Right.
additional match needed.
So Myron's still not happy about the 3% maybe.
No, I think we ought to go with the 3%.
You're the only one right now, Mark.
But it don't matter. I think that you go to 3%, $20,000 Shelby's Park, okay, for 10 years. I'm gonna spend $20,000, okay, on maintenance in 10 years. In 5 years, I'm gonna spend that. Why vote against something that they may eject it because you're not voting for
Well,
it?
it's not mandatory that we have to.
Yeah,
Put it in
they
the
don't have- they don't have no guidance on it
Guaranteeing that,
yet.
right?
They don't have no guidance on it yet.
You're guaranteeing that 3%. Is that-
Yeah, you guarantee 3% in 10 years.
In other words, the money is not,
There's no block of money to where we're gonna take this money and put it
Right.
aside somewhere. But we have to know as a governing body, y'all know how it is. Y'all get a grant for something and then something breaks and we say, well, who paid for that? That ought to be
Yeah.
their responsibility. No,
Right.
it's our responsibility. We
You
have
understand what I'm
to.
saying?
Ability.
be supporting the project. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, ongoing support of the project through its
You didn't
longevity,
support the 3%.
through its longevity.
If you can't do that, you don't even deserve the project.
I say all the time, grants aren't free.
I understand that, but I don't think we should not
grants
exceed
end up
3%.
costing you
A lot.
unless it's a grant that you really need.
On the 4 remaining, I'll just make the suggestion that we look at reducing the scope of those projects by the deducted amount. And if, when that project comes and we can't remove that from the project, then we have to find another funding source to complete it at that time. Either that or we add that amount to the total project budget in the ask.
So which 4 are you talking about?
The 4 new ones that have not been submitted yet. So the 911 call
Minus
center has
Viagra.
already been submitted. So it'd be the bottom 4.
Bell Road,
One of those.
Crab, Grant Park, and Murray Park.
Correct.
Is there time to do that before Tuesday? Did you give a cost estimate, Joseph? Did you provide the cost estimates on these?
Yes.
Is there time to do that before Tuesday? We coming down to the wire, guys.
Yeah, have them, but is there time to revise them to add these
Yeah.
additional match totals into it so I can adjust it on there?
Yeah, if you if you can send me a list with the match totals you need added in,
Okay.
I'll see that it gets done first thing.
Still gonna require additional allocations.
So,
Why you crab roll?
so, Leroy,
That's part of the.
Mr.
reduce the
President,
scope.
what I referenced earlier about the project itself, the scope, about such a change, you're telling me we still will come into a problem? That's what I'm hearing?
If you increase the project scope, the project
I didn't say
total,
increase.
oh, I'm sorry, if you scope is reduced enough to cover for the
Absolutely, is what I'm
admin to
implying.
be.
Not only for mine, but for everyone.
Listen, you're gonna, Leroy suggesting adding the admin that they're requiring to the project budget request, but then reducing the scope enough. It's, in order for us not to have any additional match, it's gonna have to be a significant reduction in that.
That's
project budget.
exactly what I'm requesting.
And my question was, can that be done before Tuesday?
Can I interject something?
Yeah, that looks like a lot of
You got-
money.
All of these projects that are submitted to capital outlay are submitted over time. I mean, they're not gonna come tomorrow. And we got to remember one thing, it's an estimate. Prices go up and down and change. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball to tell you what, plot and build drainage or this one or that one is going to cost 2 or 3 years from now when you get that money. So what I would suggest so that you can move these projects forward is let me review the estimates that I have. If she can send me the amounts for each one that we need to put into that, let me see if there's room to reduce those scopes without harming the project and see if we can get them in. And I can do that first thing tomorrow as soon as she can send them to me. Because that seems to be the problem that you're having is right now, currently today, there's not enough money to allocate this additional funds that's needed. So it's still an estimate that's being submitted. The true numbers are going to come out when the projects are bid.
You're absolutely right, but Joseph, how often do we come in under budget? Never, hardly ever.
Well, but that speaks to my point, is that by the time these projects are bid, a lot of those estimates, as much as we try, we add, 3 or 4% additional and inflated cost there to take care of that. But if they wait 4 or 5 years to award that funds, no one can control what the construction cost is at that time.
If we can't meet these figures now, then we won't be able to meet them later. So.
Okay.
You all just have to prioritize and make a commitment.
The motion is to reduce the project scope and add in a line of admin, the admin deducted by FP&C to have a net zero change on our match.
And I don't know if that's gonna be possible, but we'll write it as a motion.
A second.
Okay, is that for just the bottom 4 projects?
Yeah, just do the bottom 4, because I mean, the top 3 are funded. Leave that alone, let that go. Top 3 are funded,
You can't leave them alone.
We
got
don't add no
cost to account
3% in them. Don't add the 3% in them.
The 3%'s over. You're not
Okay.
talking about the 3%. You're talking about the FP&C.
If they come back and say, for plot bill drainage, if we need the $81,000,
Ron,
91.
forget about the 3%. We're not talking about the 3%. That's
So
over.
the motion is to reduce the scope and the
91.
administration.
And amend the budget to include the admin deducted fees.
Administration.
I think you're safe to say that straight across the board for all of them, even the ones that have been awarded, because for instance, Plot Mill Drainage and all has been awarded and it's ready to go to bid. So whenever we're released to advertise that project, we're gonna have the true numbers and we can address it then. But the fact is, it's the amount of money is awarded, it's done. So whether you say you're gonna reduce the scope, we'll find that out when we get the bids coming in. If they're over, we may have to reduce the scope and have some sort of deduct change order anyway.
Okay, the motion is made by
Leroy.
Second.
Leroy, second by Pat. All in favor? Opposed?
That's for all the projects or just 4?
That's for the
All of
bottom
them, all of
four,
them.
the bottom 4.
no, all of them,
You
do
said
them all,
bottom 4.
Yeah,
do them all. Just go ahead and do them all, yeah, I mean, I got the money, so project is going forward.
That doesn't affect you.
Yeah, it don't affect you.
It doesn't affect alcohol. He has his match, he has his funds.
all right, so we're gonna do it all.
Are you reducing the scope on all of them?
If need be.
If need be,
Okay.
Yeah,
if need be.
okay. Now we'll vote on it.
I have one question on another item before we move forward. On the Louisiana Rec Trails, the Belrose Library Walking Trail. I believe we're still waiting on the CEA from the state for that one.
The solicitation of newsletters were submitted to, the responses were sent back to me. I emailed those responses to our program director. So it's in their hands right now.
Any timeline on when we can get that CEA?
I don't have them, but I can check that.
Thank you.
What about the transportation alternative program? Where you at with that?
I submitted the package of information that they're and haven't heard anything.
On that one, I have an outstanding question to the parish engineer regarding that one.
What's the question?
On the Belrose Lane sidewalk project, I believe there was an error in the calculation of the culvert needed, and you were gonna be checking on that. In the estimate, it had 400 feet, and I told you it should have been like 4,000 feet.
Yeah, that,
And the last I heard from you was that you were gonna check into it and get back with me.
we'll get it adjusted, but we can adjust that number because that's one of the ones that will be sent to her today. So, and we had two side-by-side estimates. One was for capital outlay and one was for CDBG. When I submitted them to her today, I think it was the capital outlay one.
Different project.
That was Belrose Lane.
This is the transportation alternatives project that was awarded to us
Okay. I
With the
apologize.
sidewalks
I apologize. I
on the
was,
state portion of the street.
all right, I apologize. I was thinking of it as the drainage project. You're correct. That 400 is an error. So we'll have to adjust that. And we'll adjust the numbers accordingly. But I think the total cost of the project was sufficient to cover it.
All right, I guess, can you revise that estimate and send it to us? We'll need to submit it to the state.
Absolutely. I'll send that when I send the others. I've got to send all the other ones tomorrow. I'll send it at the same time.
Okay, next item is request to reschedule public hearing for a later date for the proposed development of turnarounds and water line on Rudy Bush and Rudy Boville in Ward 1.
I spoke with the developer and he requested that this be pushed back because he's still working some things out, I believe, with the water company and so forth to get his final plats in. So he requested that this public hearing be rescheduled.
Table.
No, we want to reschedule. We're going to call for this reschedule. We're going to table the public hearing.
Motion to reschedule.
Second.
It'll be rescheduled for our next regular meeting at 5:50.
Okay, motion to reschedule the public hearing for the next meeting. Motion by Jeff.
Yeah. Second.
Second by Leroy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item, request authorization for the president to sign for the fiscal year 2023 EMPG funding agreement of $63,838.61.
I think these two items, 4 and 5, are relative to what Mr. Tommy spoke about at the last meeting when he made the presentation of EMPG projects versus SHP. And he presented you all with the information, but he never really said what he needed. He needed an authorization for the president to sign these funding agreements. So this is back on the agenda.
Second.
All right, motion by
Chris.
Mike. Second by Ron, all in favor?
For 4 and 5.
4 and 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6 is tabled. Number 7, discuss the new cost estimate for Bayou St. Vincent Canal Bridge replacement, additional scope needed to determine final fee for Belrose Lane and Upper Pierpont levies.
Yes, I'm still working on a reduced cost for the Bayou St. Vincent Canal Bridge replacements. So I would ask that that one be tabled to the next meeting. As far as the Belrose Lane final fee, as long as we go back to the original scope that was stated for that project, which I believe was about a $250,000 estimate at that time, I am fine with maintaining the original fee quoted at 13,000.
Do you have a revised estimate for the Pierpont levies?
Yes, I do. The design fee on that, I will say I have not had a chance to speak to Mr. Pondville about that, so, but I can give you the numbers. The state design fee on that is $175,000 based on a $2.1 million construction cost. I can reduce that fee to about $150,000.
So the 2.1, where are you getting that number from?
That number, actually sat with Mr. Pondville and went through the cost of the levy project and all of the items that were set in the design, and we prepared a cost estimate based on it.
That's all the little ring levies throughout the part of it, there's just one ring levy.
No, that's all of them. That includes culverts, pump stations, in some of the locations, relocating of 2 pump stations, and the addition of all of the ring levies and gates, control gates on the ones that don't have pumps. I submitted those plans to the jury previously. I can provide you with a cost breakdown. I have no problem. I'll forward that to the entire jury for your review.
So this time, there's no action for 87.
Next item, discuss statewide burn ban.
I put this on there. I've been getting numerous phone calls about it. I know it's lifted, but it's up to the fire chief, right?
Yeah, they can burn with permission. Anyone can burn with permission
Let's
of the
get,
fire chief.
Justin, could you post that on the website?
And Don Rowe told me he's all right with lifting it, so I'm back. Yeah,
Which
but
one of the-
About the burn ban.
I think we're lifting.
So,
Check with all the fire
I don't think everybody know that because they've been burning some trash.
I checked with all the fire chiefs. The only 2 that responded to me was the chief of Napoleonville and chief of Pierpont. And sorry, chief of Lavendale asked that we keep it in place.
What the other one said?
They both said lift it.
I think we gotta make a motion. I'm not on the committee, but I think we gotta make a motion.
So just to let everyone know that the Ascension Parish lifted theirs. And West Baton Rouge Parish lifted theirs last week.
I can't move forward, regular meeting, I can't.
I got a motion to lift it.
Second.
All right, motion to lift the fire ban by Ron, second by Patrick, all in favor, opposed,
Nay.
nay, 1 nay. Number 9 is tabled. Number 10 is an update on the Tacopah Landing project.
Yes, construction is progressing. We have turned over all of the plans and specifications to the third-party engineer hired by the jury. I have not had any responses or requests for additional stuff at this time, but we will work with it. Currently, I have 2 items. The contractor is requesting 2 change orders totaling $10,072. The first is to add the cash option to the pay kiosk. For whatever reason, that was inadvertently left off of the previous cost he provided. That additional number is $4,072. And then they're adding 3 wireless cameras at a cost of $2,000 a piece for a total of $6,000. That brings the total request for change order to $10,072.
I make a motion to approve it. Yeah, we should have that deduct, right?
Right now, you have about the last deduct change order we did was, I think, totaling around 18,000.
Motion to approve it.
Okay, motion for the change order by Mike,
Second.
You got a funny mic?
second by Jeff.
For the funds to come out, the deduct.
All right.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Update on Jolimar Street.
Hold on,
Move to that one.
we
What?
still gotta give some more updates.
Oh, you still
Just
got some
want
more?
to, yeah, so we did have a meeting today with the third-party engineer and our council for that. He did share with us, I guess that he received information from both the contractor and the engineer. And he expects to have his report to us by next meeting with his recommendations on how we move forward.
Okay, now we'll go with an update on Jolly Moore Street drainage project.
We're prepared to go to bid. We would need permission from the jury to advertise.
We just need a contract. That's what we're missing on that. That's item 6 that we tabled.
You have, for that particular item, you have a contract and you previously awarded the construction administration to, according to your RFQ, to another firm.
But the contract that we have, the terms in the contract do not agree with the resolution that we made. That's why we asked at the last meeting for an addendum to that contract to change. You had, I believe it was 15,000 for that project. It was under task 1 for preliminary plans and surveying. Item 2 was to be determined at a 10% of the project cost. And at the last meeting, you said you were going to amend that project to be 15,000 for the total engineering.
Okay, but
And
I was,
specifications.
and I guess I'm not trying to cross wires here, but I was listing those when we had multiple amendments to do there, if you recall, because we had an amendment not only to do the Benson Canal bridges. At that time, we were also discussing Belrose Lane. There were multiple of them, and that's why I had requested that be tabled, because I'm trying to get them all itemized and to you in a timely fashion.
But we still need it.
We still need a contract.
We still need a contract.
So let's put it back on the agenda for the next meeting and hopefully we have a contract.
Okay, update on Jarrow Street levy project.
We adjusted the cross sections according to the request of the parish assistant manager, as well as we updated the location of the levee on all of the permit drawings. I had forwarded that to you all. I spoke about it with Mr. Myron, and we then resubmitted that to start the application process again on the permit. We basically updated the application to reflect the new drawings.
Okay, update on Lee Drive project.
Lee Drive, I received final quantity estimates from the contractor. I forwarded that to your road and bridge administrator, as well as Mr. Blanchard and Mr. Conville. At the next meeting, we are proposing to come with a final quantity change order, as well as a documented punch list and a request for substantial completion.
Skip number 13, update on ring levies in Fairport, Bell River. I know you gave us that price there, but you got an update on that?
There's nothing, the plans and specifications are in your hands, and the permits are in place currently. So once the contract issues are resolved, that project's ready to go to bid.
Update on Ag Center roofing.
Those bids are coming in on October 31st.
Update on Shell Beach boat launch. landing.
We made some updates to the permit application by request of DNR. We submitted those and they sent us a response that the application is complete and moving forward with processing.
A motion to adjourn by Jeff. Yep. Second by Mike, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Well, the 5:50 public hearing has been rescheduled for next meeting. At this time, we'll call to order our regular meeting. Let the record reflect all due regard to except Mr. Fonville. Please rise for a prayer and pledge. God, who teaches us by sending the light of the Holy Spirit into our hearts, grant that by the light of that Spirit, right judgment may be ours, and that we may ever find joy in His guidance. Amen. Such pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 public hearing to obtain views on the housing and community development needs of Assumption Parish and discuss the submission of an application for funding under the state of Louisiana fiscal year 24-25 Community Development Block Grant Program.
There are a few things that I have to go over for the LCDBG public hearing. If you're here for the public hearing, on this attendance roster, we do have parents in with our grant application. And I also have copies of our citizen participation plans available for everybody's view. The Louisiana Development Block Program. There are 2 different programs within it that you're able to apply for. You can only apply for one of these. So I'll go over the programs and the eligibilities and the minimum and maximum amount that we can apply for. For the clearance program, we have to apply for a minimum of 150,000, and the maximum amount we can apply for is 500,000. This is the proposed activities eligible for this are under section 105A4 of the Housing and Community Development Act 74, which is blighted, deteriorating, undeveloped, or inappropriately developed from the standpoint of sound community development and growth, and to be used for other public purposes. And each proposed activity must address the national objective of eliminating or preventing slums and blight. The applications can only be accepted for clearance, demolition, and the removal of residential or commercial structures on private property found to be detrimental or endangering public safety, health, and welfare. Under public facilities, this is for sewer, and then there's one for streets. So the minimum construction amount has to be 350. And the ceiling for sewer is 2 million, and the ceiling for streets is 1 million. Under sewer improvements, the eligible activities or new sewer system rehabilitation, or sewer treatment. Under street improvements, reconstruction of previously paved streets, rehabilitation of previously paved streets, or new construction of paving of aggregate surface streets or unpaved. And we also have the Make a Difference program. The minimum amount that we can apply for is 500,000, and the maximum amount is 2 million. Proposed activities are eligible under section 105A of the Housing and Development Act, which is the acquisition of real property, including air rights, water rights, and other interests therein, which is deteriorating, undeveloped, or inappropriately developed from the standpoint of sound. We do believe that this is something that maybe park renovation could possibly fall under. The economic development program. There has to be a firm financial commitment from the private sector, and the private funds, the public funds ratio must not be less than 1:1. The other programs under LCDBG do not have a match, but this one does with the owner and the leaser. The cost for new full-time jobs created cannot exceed 20,000 for a grant. A minimum of 10 jobs have to be created or retained. Employment of a minimum of 51% of persons whose household income at the time of employment is within low to moderate income limits. Documentation on the management, marketing, financial, and economic feasibility for proposed activities. Amounts available are limited by the number of new permanent full-time jobs created based on a maximum of 20,000 per job for publicly owned infrastructure, and that includes up to 100,000 per program. Infrastructure includes sewer, water, streets, and it has to be on public property. That's the minimum and maximum that apply. If you have any questions,
We have some people here from the Pankerville, Virginia Street, community. I would like to speak out on the behalf of this grant for Grant Park. I have been fighting for recreation funds for this park since I've been in office. And this is an opportunity that we can get some funds for this park where we want to use any matching funds. I have over $100,000 in my recreation fund, so we can get this grant. We have money to maintain some of the stuff that we are asking for.
Good evening. How y'all doing today? I'm Chris Carter, Jr. And I'm just here today to speak on behalf of Ward 6 and the need for I guess, some improvements to Grant Park. As someone who grew up in Ward 6, I'm familiar with some of the problems that are facing that community. One thing we never really had growing up was a park in our community. There was a short time when I was maybe a teenager where we were able to go to Grant Park, play baseball, play softball, but that was short-lived. Now, passing by the park, there's been some improvements over the last 8 or so years, but there are certain necessities in that park, that we need in that park that just aren't there. There are no bathroom facilities, there's no water fountains, just simple things that we don't have. I guess we just don't have the funds for. And when I look at DuPaty Park and when I look at Park and Pierre Park, it's just lacking. It's lacking. And as most of you know, the Sheriff's Office puts out, or used to put out monthly, the calls for assistance. Assumption Parish, that block from Belrose through Bertrandville, that's the most calls for assistance. And as the longest tenured public defender we have here, that's where my biggest subset of clients comes from. And what I hear from most of them is, we just don't have nothing to do. That's how we end up dealing with drugs, getting involved with the wrong people. And as someone who grew up in that environment, that's what I saw coming in. I think it's important to go to Grant Park in one of our quote unquote problem areas in Assumption Parish, develop that area, make it somewhere attractive for the kids to go spend time at. We don't have as many parish funded, Sheriff's Office funded like we did before programs. We used to have bitty basketball all-star team where we can go find somewhere to play basketball, this and that and the third. There's only a short summer program for basketball. To play basketball, I don't even believe in DuPaty Park. We have operating basketball courts right now. I don't know where the closest place to go, and most kids don't. You don't see anybody outside anymore, riding bicycles, going to the park. It's just not happening. But when I go out into the community, I used to coach basketball and football at Belrose. The talent level was decreased because there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. So what I'm asking for is that whatever grants y'all write for, that y'all attempt to get, let some money be allocated to Grant Park. We're at a critical moment in our community where crime is on the downturn in a lot of areas, but what we still have is young people turning to drugs, dealing, and it's starting at earlier and earlier ages. And I see it every week. I'm in court. A kid I coached, a kid I knew growing up, a kid that was under me, that I tried to mentor, falling by the wayside. And I think having somewhere that's attractive to kids, if we put the foundation there, then we can use that facility, those facilities, to help start a baseball league, community baseball league, like they had in Blackwood, or like we had in Darcyville back in the day. Or maybe even have an outdoor basketball league, just something for these kids. But now we have no reason for them to go to this park. Sure, that's a play set, play area, but there's nowhere near, it's not anywhere near what it could be. And I think that $500,000 minimum that we can request, at least some of it, needs to go to that. And I think it's a small investment into the community that could have long-term effects, positive effects on that community.
I just hope that whatever y'all decide, I think that's that's my priority. As someone from this community, as someone who is advocating for those that can't advocate for themselves, I think that's important. Once we have that foundation in place, I believe that motivates people to, and motivates children to get involved more, motivates parents or maybe community leaders to invest in those children, not just money, but their time as well. I don't see that investment anymore. I just call on y'all to make the right decision and hopefully allocate some of those funds to Grant Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any other public comment for this hearing?
Good evening. Thank y'all for having us in here tonight. I'm just here. Most of y'all know me. I serve on the school board, and Chris is my longtime friend, and I'm in here.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought everybody knew me. Daniel Washington, school board member, Ward 6. Okay. I come as a concerned parent and grandfather and, resident of Ward 6, Pankerville. I've been there all my life. And me and Chris had a conversation a while back. We talked about the Grant New Park and what his plans or what he's trying to do in the park. We spoke about a pavilion, and we spoke about a walk track and some more equipment added to the park. Right now, the park look like it's just sitting there idle. I mean, there's no activity too much because they don't have a bathroom, they don't have water, And so when he came to me about it, and the walk track is really needed. It's not just for the youth. The park's not just for the youth, but for the elderly people. If they had a pavilion and a walk track, you'd be surprised the amount of our elderly people that walks, and they have to walk on the side of the highway and walk on the side of the street, which is dangerous, and walking is good for our health. And so I'm asking tonight that you all support Chris in this effort, and find it in your heart to help in this effort. I thank y'all for your time, and it's good to see all of y'all.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Osbrooks. I'm a resident of Pankerville, Louisiana. I'm a retiree from something Parish Police Jury. And I think I've worked in every park in Assumption Parish. And it's sad that I retired and I got to come to Assumption Hospital just to walk the trail, because I see these little knees, these little legs that need that. I can't walk in Pankerville because we ain't got nowhere to do it. Kids ain't got nowhere to play. I mean, maybe if y'all pass there every now and then, you could see what's going on out there. And what Chris got in mind is, that'll kind of better us a little bit. And I hope and pray that y'all put y'all head together and trying to help us out, because we need it. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I'm all for it. I would have maintenance of it out together.
As I stated, we got I think about $112,000 in my rec fund. That money would be still there for the maintenance because this is a grant with no match. I think it's a no-brainer. This community has been asking for a park for a long time.
We'll keep it up maintenance after.
We'll keep it up, and also we're gonna have a rec district. We're gonna combine it with Bertrand River Rec District, and we're gonna continue to raise money to maintain. We're not gonna just sit back on $100,000. We're gonna continue to raise money to add to that to maintain what we get.
Chris is needed. It's needed in your area. I like to, I like to put a motion out on the floor that we,
Ron, this is the public hearing.
This is
There's
public
there's no
hearing.
motion here. So the purpose of this public hearing is to comply with our community interaction program so that we can hear the needs from the community. We've done that in the past. We've heard the needs from the Laverdale Middle Beta Club came requesting some equipment at the Mare Park. Those are in the plan. So all of these public comments are going to be included in the future consideration of the jury to apply for these different LCDBG programs.
So that's not nothing that.
All we're doing here is gathering the needs of the community
Okay,
so that we can build our projects that address the needs that the public bring to us.
gotcha. All right.
Any further public comment? All right. Consider public hearing adjourned. Item 4, approval of minutes of October 11th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Como, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment period. We now accept public comment for any item on the agenda.
Good evening, Arthur Boudreaux, 250 Rudolphville, in Fort Mill, Virginia. Got a few things. First, on the attacker pole landing, I'm looking for clarification here. What exactly is this third-party engineer charged to do? And what are we going to do with his results? I hear you said the next meeting, he's going to come with his results. So what exactly is his charge?
So I'll just address it briefly because this is a public comment period, but
Yeah, I'm saying,
we have him trying to get us to reach substantial completion so that we can open this launch. There are some disagreements at this time between the contractor and engineer. And we have this engineer, by request of the council that we have, to guide us in the direction that we need to move forward for substantial completion.
so is that going to be outside of the litigation aspect? I mean, so if he comes back saying everything is good, we're going to open the launch? That's bottom line question.
Can't answer that right now.
All right. Okay, so I guess the rumor that was on Facebook about the boat launch opening on February 31st, 2024 is be right. That was a joke. It was a joke. Yes. All right. On the Rudolphville thing, I'd like to request any and all documentation to show exactly what are we talking about here. I've not seen anything at what they're submitting for this water line and turnaround. I know two of my neighbors, the original plan showed the turnaround on their property. And one of my neighbors that's not able to be here, he said when he signed his paperwork to buy the lot, that was removed from his purchase on the plot plan for him. However, the drawings in the courthouse don't reflect that. So he's trying to, this is a guy that suffered a house fire, he lost everything. So he's trying to see if he can recover that. So my question is, what documentation has Mr. Hartman submitted for this public hearing?
The jury hasn't received that information yet.
That's why he requested it be tabled.
Okay,
He requested that it be pushed back because, and this was strictly in discussions that I had with the developer, is that we need those plans and we need those things. And exactly what you were speaking to as far as the location of those turnarounds and so forth is some things that he's apparently amending or changing before submitting it to this jury.
yeah. And also there's been some survey work out there, Joseph. And whoever's doing that survey work, they are trespassing.
No, you're not.
Yes, they are.
Surveyor can't trespass.
They trespass.
Especially when you go to
They came on my property to do that survey work.
They have the license.
Surveyor can?
And if you remove their stakes, you go to jail. That's read the laws.
They're trespassing.
Just help them.
That's my opinion. Lastly, on the capital outlay, my comment there is, thank God, finally, somebody in the state is realizing that our local governments are taking capital outlay funding, and I don't want to use the word, but we're throwing away money. Kim, I agree with you. We've seen lots of projects get installed in this parish, and we have no way of supporting them. Or that comes in as an afterthought. There's 3% funding that they're, I think is what I'm gathering, that they're wanting to propose. To me, is very warranted. If we install a pump system for whatever, a water project, a drainage project, or a sewer lift, and we can't afford to continue to fund that, it shouldn't be funded in the first place. So I'm of the opinion that, hey, all of these projects that we just submitting here to the state, and capital outlay, I'd rather the state just kick them out. If we can't commit to 3% for the maintenance to support these projects, then it shouldn't be even considered. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan's up.
Second call for public comment.
Jeremy Landry, 419 Highway 400. Further update on the Ag Center. I know that's really important to you all. Yeah, you didn't know that?
Assumption Parish.
Assumption Parish. I didn't see any of your signs there. But you won't be here much longer. I'll tell you that one about that. You don't live in the parish either, or that ward, right? But anyways, I don't know what you thought so funny. The sheets for the roof on the Ag Center are over just about 70 foot long. All that. The current sheet's about 35 foot and they have a lap. So what's gonna happen to you on next week is you're either gonna not have any bids or they're gonna be too high for you to afford it. And then you're gonna have to look for more money outside of the insurance and the taxpayers gonna have to burden that because of the design. You can't take a 70-foot sheet and haul it on a 40-foot, 50-foot truck. You can't take a 70-foot sheet and stick it up in the air without kinking it. So just wanted to give you an update on that as well. I know it's important.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Any other public comment? Last call. I'll conclude public comment. Drainage Committee report was chaired by Mr. Carter.
Drainage Committee met at 5 o'clock. First item was left drainage issue at 4157 Highway 308. That item was passed. Total amount was $250. Second item, request approval for cover replacement at 148 Oakfield Lane, Ward 6. That was passed. Total cost $1,500. Next item, request approval to sweep outfall behind Lacey Street, Ward 6. That was approved. Total cost $400. Next item, request approval to clean outfall on Tiger Lane, Ward 7. That was approved. Total cost $600. And then we discussed the ongoing drainage projects. I present all this to you.
Motion by Mr. Carter. Second. Second by Mr. Nakane. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Finance Committee met at 5:10. All members were present. We approved to pay the list of bills submitted through October 19th of 23. We reviewed the budget comparison statements for major funds for September of 23. We approved changing the payroll coding percentage allocation from the 1% fund. And we tabled the allocation of American Recovery Act funds. Can I get a motion? Motion by Mr. Diaz to accept the committee report.
Yeah.
Second by Mr. Alcorn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel Committee meeting, Chairman Diaz.
Personnel Committee met at 5:20. All members are present except Mr. Ponville. We approved to terminate the employment of Mr. Ricky Holmes effective 10/26/23. Isn't this in the form of a motion?
Second. Motion by Mr. Diaz, second by Mr. Nakane. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Engineering Grants Committee report, Chairman Como.
Engineering Grant Committee met this afternoon. All members were present except for Ms. Fonville, who was given an update on project status and funding sources by GIS Engineering. Was given an update from the grants coordinator, and we approved to apply for the grants without the 3% maintenance fee. We also approved to reduce the scope and add administration and deductible fees to all projects. We approved to reschedule public hearing for the next meeting for the proposed development turnaround and water line for Rudy Force and Rudy Boville in Ward 1. We approved the president to sign fiscal year 2023 EMPG funding agreement of $63,838.61. We approved the president to sign the fiscal year 2026 SHSP funding agreement of $19,696.19. Number 6 was tabled. We discussed the number 7. We approved to lift the parish-wide burn ban. We tabled number 9. We approved the change order for the tackle boat landing, total of $10,072. Was given an update on Jolimar Street, Gerald Street, Ring Levis and Fairport and Bell River. Lee Drive project, update on Ag Center roofing project, and an update on Shell Beach boat landing.
I'd like to vote.
Motion by Mr. Como, second by Mr. Carter.
Motion at 3%. I'd like to go with 3%. Vote on, please. Second one.
Second by, you seconded, Chris?
You want to use.
That 3%, I want that 3% in it. I'm gonna keep my.
use it for that
He's
particular spot.
making a motion or he's
You got to call a
voting
motion.
nay for that one particular item.
We didn't vote on the real motion yet, but he wants to present a counter motion on just that, on his Shell Beach submission to include the 3%.
Yeah, I'm gonna maintain, I'm gonna keep it up.
So you want to do it just on the Shell Beach one?
Unless y'all want to put it on yours.
Okay, so we want it just on the Shell Beach one. I'll second that motion.
And where's your funding coming from?
It'll come from recreation throughout the years.
All right. Got a motion on the floor for Mr. Mathern to replace the 3% for the Shell Beach boat landing, only funded from his drainage, his recreation allocation.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Como. All in favor? Opposed?
The rest of the report. Motion approved his report, or second, his recommendation approved.
Chris, second.
Chris seconded.
Put it to a vote, Mr. Urban.
You what?
No,
Put your
no,
original motion.
I got it. All in favor?
Yeah.
I, with the exception of number 8, my fire chief was against it, so I got to sign it.
Motion passed.
Motion carried.
I thought we were in engineering. We spent so much time. in there.
All right. We'll skip item 10 as we had no public hearing. Item 11, presentation from Civic Source. Mr. Risa Fields.
She was not able to be here, so Mr. Garrett Staples should be here.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Garrett Staples. I'm the Director of Operations at Civic Source. Ms. Torres asked us to come on out and answer a few questions, discuss a little bit about our process, and maybe go over some specifics that might come from the council. From the jury. But I do want to start off by apologizing for not being able to be here at one of the previous meetings that we had planned to be here for. I myself got a little sick, so unfortunately I wasn't able to be here, and then it kind of became a thing where I like to come to this stuff. I'm, like I said, I'm the Director of Operations, so I like you to be able to look me in the eye and ask me the questions about the company when you want to know the heart of the matter. So anyway, I can go into a lot of different aspects of what we do for y'all, but this is all at heart about the adjudicated property programs that we do and the sales we do for that. I don't want to go too far into the deep end without knowing specifically what y'all want to talk about, because I can bore you out of your mind if you want me to go off the wheels of it. But I figure we can start off by kind of.
Right, y'all just requested somebody come. They hadn't been in here in a while. So if y'all have any questions about the process or anything, now's the time.
You want to, go ahead, sir.
What makes you decide what piece of property you're gonna put out?
So the good news is we list them all. At the end of the day, basically, every year, a new set hit this 5-year mark. The statute allows you to sell adjudicated property after either 3 or 5 years. We only sell them after 5 years, because if you do it after 3 years, the waiting period from when somebody says, I'm interested, to when you can actually hold the sale is over a year by the end of it. And that's just kind of crazy. You don't know what circumstances somebody's in a year after they've raised their hand and said they're interested. So we found that people struggle with that. So after the 5-year mark, it's about a 90-day period from when somebody says I'm interested to when we can hold the sale. Usually maybe a little bit more depending on the timing of when they say they're interested. So every year we get a new list that have hit that 5-year mark of adjudication. And at that point, we go ahead and we go through some verification process on our side to make sure, number one, there aren't issues with dual assessment or it being underwater or there's a number of things that can go on with a piece of property that really make it ineligible for any kind of sale at a public auction like that. And then once that's done with, we go ahead and give Ms. Torres to make sure that there's nothing strange about it or anything like that from the parish perspective about, hey, we need to hold off because there's some kind of disagreement with the assessor or, like I said, any number of other things there too. We go through approval on that end as well. And then we go ahead and we list them all at that time.
How do y'all go about advertising these properties?
Yeah, so in general, in Assumption Parish, I mean, this is kind of a blessing. I hate to say it that way, but it is. Y'all don't have a ton of adjudicated properties as much as I'm sure every single one feels like it's a blight upon the community. I do understand that. So we haven't done a lot of dedicated stuff in the area because we just, frankly, I mean, we have 25 properties listed right now, and it's a thing where we don't want to inundate the area over a couple properties. What we traditionally do is we come out and we place signs on each property, which helps in the area for sure, drive interest, because at the end of the day, you'd like to see these sell to somebody in the area. I'm sure, you don't want somebody from even New Orleans or something like that buying it and just kind of, I don't know, you never know what somebody's going to do with it from outside the area. So it's always better with somebody around. We also do emails to our investor group, which is at this point, and Allison, you can correct me, but I believe we have over 80,000 registered investors at this point who are always looking for new properties. So we send it out to them as well when those new properties come up. And then every once in a while, we put out an update email kind of saying, hey, are you interested in your area? One of the new things, and this is something that, we haven't even really had a chance to present to y'all yet. I mean, when I say new, I mean like last month, we started doing it in New Orleans and in Caddo. But that is the adjoining landowner program that y'all allow. We've started doing proactive call campaigns. And that's something clearly we want to discuss it before we start calling the folks in your community. But the idea there is the adjoining landowner program is if the property is adjudicated, it's the people to your left or right on that street or the person joined to the rear who you make it available to them the statute allows for essentially a non-public auction. And it would only be between adjoining landowners who are interested if they're the people who come forward. And the idea there is you're giving priority, that the statute idea is that you're giving priority to folks who are in the community, who are already current on their taxes, are showing that they can take good care of it, and it all goes through the approval of the parish at that point.
So they don't have to bid on it?
No, so they basically pay what the current program is set up with the parishes is a $500 base price and then our fees. All of our properties are our fees, which cover all the work that's statutorily required to do it, as well as the money that it costs to basically put a title insurance policy on it. That's kind of the sketchy part is it's.
But if they don't have to bid on it, then other people that would want that property doesn't have the chance to bid, so the parish is losing money.
Potentially, I understand what you're saying, sir. Candidly, most of those are properties though that have been sitting up there a while already. So it isn't something anybody's come out and shown interest in some cases for years. And in many places, what we do on those ones, if we're looking for these adjoining landowner programs, we put a time limit. We say, hey, listen, a property has to be publicly listed for a year before you're able to go ahead and make it a priority property like that. And that gives a chance if it is, let's say it was downtown. Right, just because I'm just kind of picking out a place where it's more likely to draw interest. It would give folks a chance to do that if they're interested in paying up a premium, to your point, for that property. But the flip side of that is at some point you're reaching a point where you're saying, hey, I've made this as publicly available as possible. Often it's a thing where if it's an interesting property or one that has a lot of value to it intrinsically, people are kind of waiting on that 5-year period. And frankly, I mean, we have people call us every day asking about when does this one become available? So if it's not among those ones that are really very strictly valuable, then a lot of times you hit that point where you're saying, hey, it's better to try to have it be in the hands of somebody who wants it because they want to extend their lot. They want to make it something where they're just taking care of it and they got to, their neighborhood is protected and they're more invested in their neighborhood, whatever it is. So that's usually it isn't about somebody getting an advantage to avoid paying a premium, to be honest with you.
Well, this is what I was getting at. We have one property. A sign was put up. And a few days later, the sign disappeared. And I got calls from 3 or 4 different people that was wondering what happened. They wanted to bid on it when the auction would come up.
Okay, so we haven't had any adjoining landowner properties at this time. I don't believe, certainly no time recently when I've been the director of operations here for Assumption Parish. But even before that, I don't believe we've had any that have gone on the adjoining landowner program. So my guess is that that's something where it was being publicly advertised as a property that had come up and then approved to be listed online. And then unfortunately, the honest truth about the signs is they get put up and then sometimes they grow legs because folks don't want them in their yard or they don't want them next to their house or nobody, they're not sure what it means or things like that.
Are you saying the sign became missing or perhaps the property was sold instantly?
No, property wasn't sold.
Right.
It wasn't sold yet. It goes to auction. But the sign was removed within 3 days.
Yeah. So I can certainly
How
look
often
into,
y'all check these signs?
well, I mean, certainly not.
Once you put one the day you put them up.
We put, well, generally, yes, because and the idea there usually is that we're putting the sign up to draw interest. So if somebody's interested in it, then we're catching them. Now, unfortunately, it sounds like in that particular case, that sign didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
And my problem has always been, the parish comes out on the short end of the stick for these properties. Your company comes out good, but the parish does.
Well, so, and as far as that goes, one of the things I always like to lay out, because I don't think this is something we initially lay out well enough when we're talking to y'all, is, listen, we understand that there are some properties that are sort of worth what we do because of the title insurance aspect. Because unfortunately, properties like this, let's say you sold them through an over-the-counter program, which some parishes do. And this is why I'm bringing this up actually, because that's totally fine with us to work in parallel with you. If you're interested in starting a program where you sell them for less than our cost and you just try to get some kind of premium for the parish, I understand, and I'm not going to stand in your way. I'm happy to work with you on the ones that are, that folks want to do that versus the ones that want to come through us. But as it stands today, really the only option if somebody wants to get title insurance on one of these adjudicated properties is to come through us. And that's one of those things, that money that we charge there, it's roughly $5,000 as a starting bid on one of our properties. All of that is in service of either satisfying the statute for selling an adjudicated property, which is pretty onerous to begin with, but then also the additional work that's required by state and federal statutes to make it insurable, which is a whole other level of noticing and things like that. And so I certainly understand that amount of money is sometimes restrictive on a given property. And that's why I like to mention when I come to these things that, if the parish says, hey, we'd like to start a program where we're going to sell them for $500 or and then see who's interested. And then if there's 2 people interested, we see what somebody's willing to pay, whatever it is that y'all want to put in. I've seen a lot of different places do a lot of different things on that. But we're happy to work in parallel with something like that. And if you say, hey, I've got, Mr. Jones down the street is interested in buying this property and he's willing to give us X and we're going to take it. And you email us and say, hey, please take that down from your site. I'm happy to pull that down from our site. Because that means it got sold and it's now no longer an adjudicated property. It's being cared for in your community.
So that was my question, Mr. Como. We've been able to sell a couple of properties in my area. Matter of fact, this year, one of the last auctions went till almost 11 or 12 o'clock at night, about 21,000.
Yep.
I saw it, everything. But every time y'all go to sell or put a parcel out there, you are correct. It starts at $5,000. So I thought I was under the impression the $5,000 was the base cost for us to pay you for y'all doing all the lab work. And then the parish will recoup whatever sold. If it went to the 21,000, then we get the rest of it. I think that was a report you came out with and we didn't get.
Because we had other properties that went to sale that did not exceed, the sales price did not exceed their cost. So they just keep a running total till they hit that property and then they can collect.
That's how we lose.
Do you mind if I ask some clarification on that? So is that ones that, are you understanding that to be ones that don't sell for enough money or the ones that get canceled prior to the sale?
It may be mobile.
Okay, because the second one is when if a property begins the process and we do, basically, you can start the process with an $850 deposit by somebody, right? And then if you get into the process and for some reason the assessment is unacceptable or something like that, because that's all part of research that happens in the process. If that fails to be something that can be sold and it needs to be canceled, and when I say that, I mean like it's dual assessed or, there's a number of different issues that can happen with that, right? If that's the case, or there's not a valid adjudication on it, we find out, the tax sale that happened with it many years ago was not, didn't send the right noticing out, any number of things can happen. If that cancellation occurs there, whatever our fees are that are applied, like that were, let's say there were $2,000 worth of work on it that we had done. We carry those as a balance because we don't charge it to you instead. It's not a thing where we charge the parish for that. We don't send an invoice saying, hey, we did this work. And even if it's canceled, we did this work. So that's how that works as far as that goes.
So who's monitoring that?
What's that?
Who's monitoring that? Because we don't, I mean,
All we get is a receipt of the sale saying what they have cumulative and what the sale was, and they deduct.
I mean, I was jumping up and down, man. That's a good day. We was able to sell auction a piece of property. We made at least over $10,000-$12,000. We go back into our general fund, and when I look at the report, I'm like, whoa, what happened? What happened? So,
Yeah, and I can understand that. I mean, and listen, I understand the frustration there because especially when you go from excitement to disappointment. I mean, that never feels good. But I can also understand a little bit of the frustration as far as that process. It's just hard listen, I'm never gonna, to your point earlier, Sarah, I'm never gonna pretend we're not a for-profit company. And so at the end of the day, for us to take that on, it's a thing where it's like, well, either we invoice you for that work earlier, when the cancellation occurs, or we don't take on properties that have any kind of, we would be much more choosy about which properties we'd be able to do, because anything that might have a chance of getting canceled like that, we wouldn't be able to do, or we do something like that. And this is not me, I'm certainly not trying to tell you, hey, there's nothing that can be discussed here. Everything can be discussed. We try to work something different as far as how we handle that. But it's not because we haven't tried to come up with sort of the best outcome. It's because we're trying to avoid sending you an invoice if something happens with a property, because it's hard to find that out until you get at least several hundred, if not $1,000 into the work, So that's
The parish is not in the real estate business. We're not trying to make a profit, but we'd like to not lose it too,
Yeah, well, and that's the goal.
Break even.
Yeah.
Because what we're trying to do is get this property back on the tax roll.
I agree. Yes, absolutely. Getting back into commerce is always the primary concern
Yeah.
for us as well, as far as, the outcome for the community goes. And to kind of clarify, that's why we have it set up the way we have it, which is, so the flip side to kind of the case you're talking about is this: we have some places in Louisiana that never sell a property for more than $5,000. And those places run a balance for a long time. And maybe at some point we sell one property that makes up for some of that. But the point is, so let's say that was the last one you ever sold for more than $5,000. Then we'd keep carrying a balance and we'd be trying to make up for it in the margin of our work. Because I'm not going to pretend there's not a margin when we send a letter or research or things like that of our $5,000. That's the whole idea. But at that point, we'd be relying on that to try to cover the losses for the other stuff, because we're never going to send you an invoice. So that's kind of the flip side of it is we're in a situation where, that one case feels bad for sure. I understand. But if let's say you sold 100 more properties and none of them were for over $5,000, and you canceled 5 properties that each were $2,000 of work that we've done, we'd sit on that $10,000 sitting on the balance that Ms. Torres is referencing on the report we send, and we just let it sit there till the dawn of time, or the end of time rather.
there's not a piece of property that you put out here representing Assumption Parish that was under $5,000. So $5,000 must be your base market.
Right. So right. But
what he's saying is, when somebody start the process, when they're doing their paperwork, if they run into some kind of reason why they can't sell it, then they got occurred across already. So they hold that and charge it to the next sale. But what I have with that is, after y'all can't sell that property, y'all not taking them off the books. Y'all leaving them on your website.
Oh.
Sometimes they're still on the website, but if you look good, there's a red line, a circle with a red line, which means they can't.
I'd be interested in that, because they should certainly be something that we.
I know people that try to buy a piece of property in my ward, they couldn't get it, they get refunded their money. Property stayed on the website, somebody else went put a deposit on it, and the same thing happened to them. So, if you can't sell it, let's take it down off the website.
No, I completely agree. So no, if that's happening, especially if you've got, multiple people trying to bid on these things or trying to begin the process, I need to hear more about that, honestly, sir. So, because that's something because that's something I can fix that quickly. I'll put it that way. That's for sure something that's just, there's got to be something we got to be missing a gap in our process right there in assumption. So
I have two things to mention about it. The first is there's a great burden on our Public Works Department having to cut these properties.
absolutely.
All right. We're not charging on each property for what we're cutting. Do other parishes add that to the minimum bid fees so that we can get recouped on the grass cutting fees?
Can I answer that?
We are, George.
We should be charging because the Road and Bridge should be accounting for the time and the labor, and they should be sending it to Debbie to put a lien on the property. However, if a property is sold through Civic Source, then all past taxes and fees are washed.
Well, and to be clear, yes, it's through us, but that's under the state statute. So it's the state statute that
That's
does it.
not
Yeah.
their-
So even if you were to sell it through a local attorney or, somebody else doing that, part of the process is those fees and things like that are expunged as far as past liens and taxes. To your question about adding a fee on as a base price, we certainly can do that. That's not somebody, if you say I want to add $500 to every property, we'll start it at $5,500. I'm just, obviously the amount changes slightly depending on the work that's done and things like that. But my point is, if you say it's $500, we need to be charging for us to feel good about selling any of these. And then we'd start it at 500 and then we do our work, over and above that. And so that way the starting bid price would be 5,500 or whatever is on it.
So we could forget that if we could address that second point.
Okay.
We have zero advertising to get the information out to the public to know that these properties are available for the public to buy. If you don't go digging on the website and try to comprehend what you're saying on the website about how the process works, we need some sort of way, like you mentioned the program where you contact the adjacent properties. We should be contacting the adjacent property owners now, letting them know that they can bid on that project, that property that is open for bid now. We do none of that to get them off our books. If we can get those off the books, then we don't spend the money cutting grass and maintaining them.
Well, and I'm happy to begin those call campaigns. Like I said, this is something we just recently started. So
No, I'm talking about not just those neighbors, but what can we do to advertise more and make the process just better educate the public that there is a process. You're sending an email to 80,000 people that have asked you to send them an email. But we have 20,000 residents in this parish that don't even know it's an option to buy a piece of property.
Well, and I'd love to just, so to start with, like I said, I'll post new signs, but to Mr. Cole's point, that signs grow legs, and I do understand that. I'm happy to go ahead and have us send our emails, and like you said, that's to the pre-described list there and things like that. The call campaigns, I'm happy for us to work on that. One of the things that we see the most traction on, though, is working with y'all to set up some kind of a blurb with links directly to your properties on the parish's website and things like that. That's one of the things that we see in most places that draws the most traffic. Because we have I have a call center that you can call them right now. They work all the time and they bust their butts. And so they're happy to answer questions. And I have folks who will call us and they'll walk through the whole process of placing the deposit. On the day of the sale, they'll be on the phone with them the whole time placing bids. So, we have the resources for folks to be able to get the information and also have the help during the sale and leading up to the sale. What the hard part there is guiding them to that. And so I can certainly, sir, I can certainly unleash my folks cold calling the city, but that scares me a little bit only because we sometimes get negative responses to that. People think we're out here approaching them in a predatory manner. And so I loathe to begin with that, where it's people think we're trying.
We could start with just advertising them on our website or putting an ad in the newspaper or anything, because right now the properties aren't moving because people don't know that they can buy them.
Well, and so I'd love to start with your website and work with you on that, because those would be links directly to the Assumption Parish properties on our website. Because one of the things here is if you go to civicsource.com, boy, there's a lot of stuff up there. And even if you kind of know how to navigate it, it can be tough
exactly
to.
my point.
Yes, and no, I agree with you. And so we can work with you to get you the links directly to just your properties that, and have it up in your website and start there. And I would love that. And then as far as, going from there, listen, we've done online info sessions for folks before that we can advertise through y'all, where people can come and ask questions. Because some of this is people just don't want to be involved because adjudicated properties are scary. To be honest, historically they have been kind of a scary investment. One of the things we're very proud of is that our title insurance makes it no longer a thing that's scary to invest in, because people can't show up later and say, gotcha, you messed up on the title work or whatever. So we're happy to do that kind of stuff with info sessions, if that's what you're interested in. We usually do them through a Zoom meeting so that people can be in their underwear at home and enjoy.
How often have you been to Assumption Parish? Our people are not a majority Zoom people.
No, and I understand that, but, and then one other thing I wanted to tell you there was, as far as advertising in the newspaper, every sale that y'all have had, we are required statutorily to list in the Journal of Record for Assumption Parish. So there are adjudicated property, you know, there's an advertisement of adjudicated property sale on every single one of those properties. So it isn't like these have never run in the paper in any way.
They don't do it on our website.
Right, they're hidden in the legal notices of the paper and not in an ad where they're attractive for people to look at.
And so that's, yeah, so I'm happy to look at that with y'all and discuss as far as what you'd like to see in an advertisement like that. I think, though, to your point, I think that the lowest hanging fruit there that could drive a lot of folks to feel, number one, like they can see them, but number two, like it's legitimate. Because I can run an ad in the newspaper all day and they go, I don't know who Civic Source is and I'm not interested. But if it's on the parish's website, it gives people the good, you know, kind of the warm fuzzies, if you will, that, okay, this is a parish sanctioned thing. This is a real program. And if I go to this website, these are real people doing actual sales instead of just, listen, like you said, how often I've been here? Well, if I walk down the street trying to tell people that adjudicated properties, I don't think they're going to give me a lot of time today, if you will. So, you know,
we need to do a better job of getting that word out to them. You know, and
absolutely agree.
all right, so we can maybe ask our IT guys who does our
Justin to
website
link
to
with.
work
We,
with how we can put links.
We did one before they took it over, if you remember.
Did a few.
And the way the state was, after 5 years, a person puts up $500 deposit, I think it was 500. And it's gonna be bid, it's advertised in the paper. And anybody that outbids that person that's got $500 in it, they get their $500 back. Or if they're the high bidder, that 500 goes toward their property.
Right.
But what you're telling me is that it costs us $5,000 to get all of this cleared, where the courts, and I was in court when the judge said that after 5 years, the only way a person could claim that land back would be if he happened to be out in space for 5 years. That's the words he used.
Well, I'm not an attorney and I don't even play one on TV. So I'm not going to pretend that I know the specific legalities of it. But I will say that everybody, my whole legal department would tell you that to be safe and also to be able to, that title insurance policy, which is the big thing I'm telling you, which is if you want to go get a loan on it to put something new on it or build anything new or do improvements on it through a loan process, you're going to need that title insurance. And that's the big thing, which is even if the court wants to say, hey, you don't need this, nobody can come back and take it from you. I'd approach a title insurance company and see what they have to say, because our experience is that they're going to tell you no.
And we do have individuals that come here that are family members that want to just redeem the property. And I do encourage them to go to the sheriff's office and redeem the properties back into their family's name. And you all get your cost and we recoup all the taxes and fees and liens on the property. But it's going back to the original landowner's name and there's no change in title or ownership.
And
So
that's
that's the difference.
unfortunately, that's one of the best outcomes.
It is.
But unfortunately, it's also very difficult sometimes, especially with heirship properties. So, you know, because one of the first steps we take is we send notices to the owner's record and then to what we call interested parties, which are when we've done our research, we're sending it to, I mean, we're sending it to 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of heirs. We're tracking people down all over the country to get them notices because sometimes it's their grandmother's property that they didn't realize that their aunt stopped paying the taxes 10 years ago, whatever it is. You know, family trees are complicated, as we all know, but that's one of the things that, you know, we do have people come out of the woodwork at that point. They say, hey, I got this letter. I didn't realize this property was even still in the family or that somebody had stopped paying the taxes. And they do show up to do that stuff. The hard part is unfortunately, Louisiana law doesn't handle heirship properties very well when it comes to who ends up the owner when you get into that redemption of the property. Because to Ms. Torres' point, you know, if somebody goes in and redeems that property, it goes into the original owner's name, whether they're alive or deceased. And then the question goes right back to who's paying the taxes on it, who's caring for the property, you know, things like that. But yeah, that is still one of the best outcomes because somebody cares enough to show up and pay not only the back taxes, pay fees and all that. Exactly. Yep.
Another problem we have, you have a derelict. You pay $15,000 to clean the derelict up. And then you turn around and sell the property for 5,000.
Well, and that goes to, Mr. Blanchard's point there with
Well, that,
being able to apply additional fees if you wanted to do that.
right, and that's also, as he stated, that if there are certain adjudicated properties that we know might have liens on it in the amount of $20,000, we might want to exempt that property from being able to be sold, that it can only be redeemed through a family member. So that's another example of.
And we're
how we
happy
can
to,
exempt it.
as far as that stuff goes, we're happy to go through every property on the list with y'all when those things are going through approval process, or even go back through the list that's already up. We're certainly not ones where we're saying, hey, all or nothing. This is a thing where, whatever the community decides is best. The same thing goes for, I'll kind of give you a flip side scenario there. Let's say there's, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one, like there's a property that's a prime piece of real estate, or it's in an area where you'd like to donate it to a church, or something like that. The parish says, well, hey, we have a special use in mind for this area. That's, those are the exact same type of thing. You exempt those from the list because you say, hey, listen, this is a good example of one where it's in the adjudicated status, it's hit 5 years, but the parish has decided it's better as a rec center, or like I said, or a church wants to make use of it as some kind of a school or something like that. Those type of things happen as well across the state, is the parishes say, hey, this is one where we want to go ahead and remove that. And then we're happy to work with you on pulling those out of the list. Even if, I'm going to tell you, even if I've done $1,000 worth of work on it, I'll eat it at that point and just I'd be happy you guys are using it.
No, that running tab will continue to run.
No, but so when I'm talking about these ones that are canceled, things like that's one thing. When they're going, when the parish is saying, hey, you guys have done your verification process on this, which is usually $175 or something like that, and you say, I'd like to pull this, I'm not in the habit of trying to milk the parish for every dollar. We are a for-profit company, but at the end of the day, we're a Louisiana company that also cares about these properties getting into good hands and being used for good purpose for the community. So that is important to us.
I can share.
All right.
And if there are more questions, please, the other thing I want to say is feel free to send the hardest questions you have, or that your constituents send your way. If somebody watches this later or reads the minutes and says, I've got some tough ones, or a hard case, like you were saying, sir, where it's, this property has been listed even though it needs to be pulled down. Those are the type of things that I love to hear too. So we'll make sure those questions get answered as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, next item is to approve a handshake permit for veterans
Okay, I
of
think
foreign
you don't
wars.
have the revised agenda.
Discuss health insurance renewal, Mr. Joe Harrison.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. One of the things I want to mention, I think it'd be good to have a resolution sent out to Congressman Mike Johnson. Today, he was elected to Speaker of the House, the first time any congressman from Louisiana was ever Speaker of the House. Now, we have two of the top people in the House of Representatives. One is Mike Johnson, and the other is Steve Scalise, the majority leader. So I think it's a power position for Louisiana that we're going to see a lot of benefits from in the future. I served with Mike in the legislature. He's a constitutional attorney, and he really pulled off a big win today.
He's from District 4.
Because as you know, this has been going on for weeks, if
He's
not
from
almost
District
2
4?
months. Pardon?
He's from District 4.
Yeah, he's in North Louisiana, Shreveport area. Mike is, he's worked his way through college, LSU Law School. Just a really good legislator. He wrote excellent legislation in the state, but he is recognized as a really top scholar in constitutional law. And I think that's what they need right now up there in the Speaker's House. So it'd be probably a good thing I've recommended this to other clients that I have, public entities. So it makes a good contact with him and his office, which is in Washington. The main purpose that I'm here today is because I'm trying to get some clarification on something that was told to me back in 2021 on bidding for the insurance, health insurance. At that time, I requested, Mr. Nakan was the insurance committee chairman, and we come in every year, sit down, go through it with both the police jury and the water board on any changes that they want to make, increase deductions, lower deductions, have the plan changed at any point in time. It's the same principles that we use every time I go out and make a proposal. The thing that did change is that when I was told that we were much higher than the other people, I said that's impossible because we are in that business. Partial self-funding is our business. And I asked, is it the same proposal? I asked that 4 days prior to the meeting when we found out it was totally different. The deductibles for the employees with our plan was $2,000 per employee, and it was $4,000 for family. Do any of you know what the deductibles are on the plan right now that you chose? $7,500 for employee and $15,000 for family. Now, if we're talking apples with apples, there weren't any apples in the cart for this one. This one was totally different. Now, as a resident, as a taxpayer, as a man that owns 3 businesses here and pays taxes in Assumption Parish and lists my business in Assumption Parish, all I asked for was to have the same opportunity anybody else has to be able to bid on a project. If I lose, it happens. You can't win every one of them. But if I lose because of the fact that I was told this was the plan that we wanted, and then go to someone who is out of parish, who is an out-of-state corporation that owns them, to be said that you can give us a $7,500 deductible for per employee and $15,000 for the family. That reduces the cost substantially, substantially. I took that particular plan because it wasn't given to me. I requested it several times. You could have given me the parameters of that plan, the schedule of benefits. I didn't need to have their numbers or anything and bid on that at the same time. I'd have won by $22,000. I did it that day because the water board was not involved in the meetings. Every time I've been here, the water board was involved because you had a coexistence with them on your plan. They weren't invited. The night of the meeting to award it, the company never even showed up over here. It was awarded from the table. The water board people came here, knew nothing about it, knew nothing about what was going on. The water board was told that they had to go with the plan. Well, if you look back when I was a police jury president, we made them autonomous. We made sure that we weren't liable for anything that the board did to be able to protect the liability of the police jury. That meant that the water board could make the decisions on this. They chose to look at the plans, which they did, and they chose the plan that we offered. The thing that bothers me is that under these type of plans, which you can do this all day long, you can go with the highest bidder or lowest bidder under professional services. So law is going to change next year. The bill didn't go through this year, it'll go through next year. That you can do that, but you cannot make 2 different proposals. That is technically against the law. There's 3 different laws that pertain to it. I had our attorney, our in-house attorney, look at it. There's collusion, price fixing. There's several different other subdivisions of that could have been looked at. But to neglect just giving a parish resident, a business in your parish, the same plan that I could have bid on, I'd have won that plan. And I was told by Mr. Nakhan the second year, and I told him I'll back off because I didn't want to take it to court. This is my parish. I care about my parish. I've served as a police juror. I've served as a parish president, school board, and a legislator. I don't want to get in a lawsuit. I didn't want to, and I didn't. But when I was told by both Patrick and Ron and Big Daddy that back off of that, don't burn any bridges, that we're going to give you the chance to bid. That was 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Best practices under the state of Louisiana, under the Attorney General's office, and also under the Legislative Auditor's office, They recommended in 2012 that every 2 years, you need to review the contracts, even though they're professional services, make sure that nothing has changed, and give the opportunity for other people to bid, just to keep a check and balance system in place, to make sure that you're saving money or that other things could have changed. That wasn't done. I was informed that it was already given to the same company, the out-of-state company, without even the opportunity of bidding when I was told I was going to be able to bid.
Bid on that all.
Pardon?
You didn't bid on.
I didn't even get notification of the bid when I was told I was going to be able to bid it this year. Because you allowed them to have it for 2 years, which is fine. I didn't say nothing last year. But this year I did, because I was told by both Big Daddy, by Patrick, and by Ron, that I would have the opportunity to bid on this contract. I didn't have that opportunity.
Why you got to bid on that?
The contract came at the last meeting.
Sir?
The contract came up for renewal at the last meeting. It was asked in committee, were there any discrepancies or any concerns from any employees? Because this insurance is about the employees. If they were satisfied and were happy with the coverage that they had and the services that they were getting, then that's why we renewed the contract at the last meeting. It came up at the last meeting.
So what you're saying is that you don't have to look at the actual proposals. Is that what you're saying?
No, I did not say that.
No, you said the employees.
I did not say that.
We were here for many years and had the employees happy. We did health fairs for you. We did meetings with the employees. We took care of those things. If you wanted to bid it, and if I had the opportunity to bid it under the same proposal provisions, I'd have won the contract. I'd have been lower. That company cannot beat our company. Their primary purpose as an insurance company is workers' comp, property casualty. Then the secondary part of that is that it was the Police Jury Association. So the Police Jury Association is not a health insurance company. So what they've done, they use as a consultant. So not only are you paying the company, CCMSI, you're also paying the police jury just to come here and say, we'd like to get your business. They're not brokers. They're not listed as I am. They don't have licenses as I do. But they get a consulting fee on top of what you're paying a brokerage firm like mine, just because of the Police Jury Association. That's how I can beat it. And that's all I ever asked. Now, I never had the complaints, and I guess I assume that's what you're saying, that we had complaints about our.
No.
No, we didn't, because we list all of
I
them.
never said you had complaints.
But you're
It was
saying the
actually about the
employees, Ron, and
employees.
that's the thing that I don't understand. You're saying the employees. The employees are
were
happy.
They were happy and they were satisfied.
What if they got a lower premium? It would have been a lower premium because it'd have been less money on the bid. I've been in this business 35 years. Now, I'm not talking out of turn. All I'm trying to say is that if you spend $1, when I was the chairman of the chamber, we did a study for Assumption Parish. $1 spent in Assumption Parish for Assumption Parish business turned 7 times. 7. So if you're not dealing with your parish businesses, why are you going out of state? Not just out of parish, out of state. What sense does it make? But I'd like to know why, when I was told I was going to be able to bid this year, I was not informed, nor did I have the opportunity to submit a proposal. Hello?
Can I answer that question? Came a recommendation of the insurance chair. That's what I want.
Joe, instead of talking to 3 jurors, you should have come up here and talked to all 9.
Kim knew what I wanted to rebid.
Well,
I
that's
didn't
just
speak to
one
you at all
juror.
this year regarding insurance. I didn't speak to you at all this year regarding insurance.
Kim, when I left, I told you that I want my name in there. Don't tell me that. I got it in my notes. I have it right here.
When you left.
That when it's
you're
my
talking about
turn to be able to
2020.
bid, I would appreciate the bid.
Okay.
You know, the Secretary Treasurer, when I was parish president, Secretary Treasurer had a list of every company that we did business with. And every service or product that we could give to our businesses, we did that because of the turn of the money in the parish.
I'm sorry to say that I don't continue that list. I'm sorry.
Pardon?
I'm sorry to say I have not continued that list. I don't
I
have
know
such
that
a.
it was discontinued way before you were here. But it's
No,
good.
I can't be held accountable.
All I'm
for
saying
something
is
that
it's
wasn't
good
here.
practices. What you're saying is that don't come to Central Parish and open a business.
Mr. Harrison, you're putting words in our mouth, just as you just tried to put some words in Mr. Alcorn's mouth. You knew when our
Words in your
renewal
mouth,
was
Kim.
here.
I'm putting
If
the
you
words
wanted
that
the
you said
information,
on
if you
paper.
wanted information to submit a proposal, you could have requested that information. You did not make a request. Our insurance company provided a renewal. I presented it to this board. This board chose to renew.
So what he told me, Jeff Knockan, and what these two gentlemen on this side told me was not correct.
I can't speak as to what they told you,
There's
but
none
as
of
Mr.
us
Como
up there.
said,
We're a
There's
body.
none, there is
We're a
none, and I
body
agree
of
to that, Irving.
9 people that have
But-
to vote on something,
When some,
not 3.
so their word isn't any good, is what you're telling me.
I'm not saying their word's not any good, but 3 people is not the full jury. The full jury is
I
9.
tell them, all I asked for is to make sure that I had an opportunity to bid this year.
I didn't hear nothing about it.
Well, I didn't know I had to call every juror.
Well,
Because when you get
don't
3
have to
jurors,
call every
when you
juror,
get
but
3
if you'd have
jurors,
come up here and
that's fine,
requested it,
that's fine, Irving. When you get 3 jurors to tell you you're gonna have the opportunity to bid, I take the word for it.
well, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Well,
This jury
I
is a
understand.
body of 9 people. It's not a body of 3 people.
It was a request
It
to
don't matter
proposal.
who told you,
Well,
you didn't get it from the majority of the 9 up
that's
here.
fine, that's fine. I understand. So I guess it is what it is. I'll be talking to you after.
I'm going to make a statement for you, Mr. Harrison. Thank you. Just to clarify on a couple of things, just 'cause I think there were some misconceptions here, miscommunications, and I don't want to do it for the back of the room. I believe what happened is there was a proposal put forward back in 2022, correct? And then it was re-upped this year from that same company through the, excuse me, excuse me. Thank you very much. I spoke to Mr. Harrison beginning in September of 2022, when all these bids came in. I was just looking back at emails because obviously it's a long time ago. I spoke to Mr. Harrison on October 13th, October 14th, October 17th, October 18th, October 19th. On October 19th, 2022, via text and via email, I was informed by Mr. Harrison, receiving the information on Tuesday will not give our carriers enough time to submit a quote, period. There was no quote submitted by Mr. Harrison in the 2022 bid process. We had the opportunity, based on the way Mr. Alcorn described it, to re-up with this existing company. It did not have to be put back out for bid. I do not know how Mr. Harrison was informed. We did not have any communications. This year, we only had communications during the bid process for 2022. As far as the comments that were made, as far as any illegalities, I vehemently deny any of those, and we went through the process in accordance with the law. If there is something that he wants me to review from his attorney, I would be happy to do so, but at this time, I just feel as if this conversation is complete and we move on. Good? Thank you.
Set trick or treat hours for 2023. Last year we had 5:30 PM to 8 PM.
So move, I make a motion to do that.
A motion by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Alcorn, that hours be set from 5:30 to 8 PM. 5:30 to 8. All in favor? Your motion, your second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hours set. Item 14, approve a can shake permit for veterans of foreign wars, post 4222. Wait, before we do that, the date of solicitation is 11/4. It's inside the 30-day waiting period. That's part of our document. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that before we move forward with this. I know we had one last meeting.
I don't know if that's gonna give them enough time to publish. That's normally what that, why that date is there.
So that's not this Saturday, but next.
Right. I mean, they don't have to have it every weekend, I'm sure.
Did they, Donna, did they say anything specific about any other dates or no? So we can ask them to reschedule outside of the 30-day period. Yes. Is that okay?
Yes, yes. That's fine. All right, so can I get a motion by Mr. Diaz to request the VFW post identify solicitation date beyond the 30-day waiting period required by the jury. Second by Mr. Carter, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is request approval of an occupational license for Shallow Water Equipment LLC.
Motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Mathern,
Second.
second by Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Any questions by the jury before?
No, anybody have more details on the shallow water equipment?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Got another request authorization for the president to sign a letter to DOTD secretary to reevaluate the installation of rocks on shoulder of Highway 70 in Grand Bayou. So I put this on the agenda. I don't know if you have seen the work being done presently on Highway 70 in Grand Bayou. But the area that they elevated narrowed up the shoulder more than what it was, and they installed large limestone rocks that basically on the edge of the shoulder, and had quite a few constituents question the safety of that if somebody runs off the road or needs to pull over to the shoulder. So I'm just asking for permission to send a letter to DOTD requesting them to reevaluate the installation of those rocks.
Motion on that.
Motion by Mr. Thurn, second by Mr. Johnson, all in favor? Opposed? So I do have one deviation here that I'd like to add. All right, so mine is based on the request of Mr. Harrison that we send a resolution congratulating Representative Mike Johnson on being elected Speaker of the House. And yours would be.
Well, I gotta put a fence up on the levee, as kids are trespassing on drainage levee, and I want $2,000 out of my drainage fund. Buy 2 gates for that. Somebody get hurt. Yeah, but safety.
What could you do with cost? Come out of drainage.
Is that in the drainage district or?
Yeah, then I'm gonna take it out of my recreation, out of my drainage fund. I got that on.
Motion to deviate.
Motion to deviate by Mr. Nakam, second by Mr. Alcorn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the first is, like to approve a resolution congratulating Representative Mike Johnson on being elected Speaker of the House. Motion by Mr. Carter. Second by Mr. Alcorn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any public comment on that item? All right, second item.
Take $2,000 out of our drainage, 2 gates put up at over subdivision levy. For safety of the kids, we're riding forward this week.
How are we gonna install those gates? What's your? So the 2,000 is the estimate from the parish to 2,000 to cover it.
What, labor?
Yeah.
Can you truly effectively barricade or petition them from riding it, mean block it from them getting on it?
Yeah, 2 gates.
There's no other means for them to get on the levee?
No, another way.
No, it's
Another way.
across the ditch. They would have to cross the ditch.
You have to draw the canal to get to it.
There'll be a gate with some wing.
So just to let you know, what's bringing this on is the maintenance department has been doing a good job of cleaning up the levees. Now that they're clean, people want to go ride on them.
So I'm not against it. I was wondering if you could truly effectively stop it.
All right, so a motion by Mr. Mathern, second by Mr. Nakam. Any public comment? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Diaz. Second by Mr. Carter. All in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Huh?